Hi everyone, before we begin, I recommend you all to install Python app. The video link is given in the description below. You can view that and come back to this. So let's continue our Python programming. So you need that programs folder for writing your programs, and this is our Python shell. We are not going to write the code here. Just click on the new file, you will get this file, and here we are going to write our code. So to check whether this is working or not, or the installation procedure is done correctly or not, so write print of hello world and just run, click on run and run module. Click OK to save it with a name. So let's give a name as one.basics. So let's save the file. So we got the output. So your installation procedure is correct. And let's continue our next commands. So after writing a print statement, let's start from the basics. So in basics, nothing but we first learn how to write comments in Python. So to write a comment, we use hashtag. So there are two types, single line comments and multi-line comments. This and the above line are known as single line comments. The comments in Python line and this and above line is known as single line comment are known as single line comments. To write multi-line comments we have different ways, but we use one method, that is nothing but giving a triple quotes. There may be single triple quotes or double triple quotes. So I use single in most of the cases. So this is one way of writing multi-line comments. So these are two types of writing your comments, which helps us to know the readability of the code and help in many situations. And we no need of declaring any data types in Python. The main thing is we no need to declare. In other languages we need to declare at a value or variable as a integer or float or string, character, etc. But here there is no problem. There is no need of declaring. So first topic is operators. So there are different types of operators known as arithmetic, assignment, comparison, logical and bitwise operators. I don't go deep into them because in basic C language or Java you might be knowing them. So if you don't know them, just you can Google them, they are basic. So first operator is double slash. Double slash is used to know the floor value. Floor value is nothing but if we give value as 4.5, it will remove the decimal place and it gives us only the remaining value, that is nothing but 4. So if you use only single backslash, that is nothing but a divided by, but in other languages divided by gives us integer. In this Python we get float value. So let's check them by writing an example. So for double slash 3, so the meaning is we will get a floor value, nothing but an integer value, and we use single slash, it gives us a float value. So here is the output. And coming to next operators, there are some basic operators and special operators are in Python. So this is somewhat you must remember them. And next we can use double and or and not. So there is no need of mentioning symbols. If you are comfortable and if you are aware of them, you can directly remember them, or you can write in a simple in English like and or and not. So we can directly write and a and d instead of mentioning two ampersands. That is also an advantage in Python. And next operator is double star. Double star or double asterisk, we use that to find power or exponent. So if you write 10 double star 2, that means nothing but 10 power 2. So we get 100 as the output. So this is also some basic operator which is used to find the power as an exponent of a value. You can write 2 double star 3 to know the 2 cube also, etc. And coming to special operators, there are some special operators also in Python like above ones. There are two models. First model is identity operator. We have is and is not. So let's see some examples of is and is not. I have declared a variable x equal to 10 and y equal to 20. See, I didn't mention any data type to them because Python by default it gives the data type based on value. So I wrote two statements, x is y and x is not y. The meaning is the x is y or not, check. It says that x is y, true. You wrote the statement, what you wrote is right, and x is not y. I am saying this x is not y, but really they are same. So second statement is false. And next one is membership operator. We have in and not in. Same like is and is not, we have in and not in this. So for this also let's see an example. So I am declaring x as a string, giving a string variable, nothing but JS resources, and writing another string. So to check the membership is nothing but checking a value in another value. So I am checking JS is present in JS resources or not. So we get true, and we are saying that in next statement it is not present, which gives us false. Exactly, we got true and false. So we must remember another point is they will return boolean values. Next basic concept is taking input and giving output. So for taking input, we can write input of, which is by default takes a string value. So enter value of any data type. If you enter any data type value also, it will convert that into string. Suppose if you enter 10, it will take 10 as string but not an integer. So how to convert that into integer we will see in y variable. So in y variable I am taking input as enter only integer value. Why? Because if we enter string also there is no use, because we are doing a typecasting. We wrote int before, so it is compulsory to write only integer value. But in X you can write any data type value. By default it will take that as string. You can convert that later based on your requirement. So I wrote one string before and I am writing another integer 1000. So there my x value and y values are printed. So this is basic input. To find what is the type of that variable, you can write type of operator or method, type of method, type of x and type of y. So you will get string and integer. So let's give the same input to know what is the required output. So type of JS resources is nothing but a string. They are present in classes. So string class and integer class. Type of is used to know the variable data type. And next one is output. So basic output we use print statement only. There is nothing different in that. Other methods are also there. Basic is print statement. So we use separator. And the keyword is sep, SEP. So this separator is used while writing some print statement. Suppose I wrote a print statement consisting of two strings, JS, comma, resources. I am writing two strings. I want some special character between these two strings, like white space. White space is also a character now. So I am giving white space between those two strings. So let's see the output. So I have output as, so this is before input. Let's give them. And now I got output as JS space resources, since I gave a separator as space. If you don't give anything, they will concatenate. So you can use that separator for concatenating two strings also. That is also useful. And another one is end keyword. End keyword is nothing but if you write two print statements, how they must be connected. Nothing but I wrote two print statements, JS and resources. So I want JS and resources in same line, but we will get them in different line. Since by default print statements will come with backslash n. Backslash n is nothing but a new line. So if we write comma end equal to space, so next print statement will come above. Nothing but. So see, you can use separator and end equal to get your required outputs. This will separator and end equal to will help you most in printing the patterns like star and pyramid patterns. And next topic is f strings. F strings means nothing but formatted strings. So I want the variables as the output, variable values, nothing but. So I write f and I mention my variables in braces. So those braces will convert my variables into values. So x value is replaced by 10 and y value replaced by 20. So output is 10 and 20 are not same. I am writing a print statement like that. So we got 10 and 20 are not same. And next topic is slicing. So in slicing we use slice method and indexing. The better one is to use indexing method. They both are same, but we use indexing. So suppose we have a string, naming of string 1, and we should mention the start point, end point and step point. Nothing but starting index, ending index and step. Step value is nothing but the increment, like +1 or +2 or -1 or -2. They may be negative also. We shall see that further. So by default start index will be 0, end index will be string length of string. So but it won't take the length of string, it will take length of string -1, means up to the last position, length of string -1, and the step size is by default +1. So let's take a string for our example with variable consisting of string 1 equal to, I will write a string, for example a string. So let's divide this into some substrings. Before that we see how the default values work. So I am writing just the colon, I am not mentioning any values. So let's see the output. The output is we got the whole string. What we have given in input, the whole string is came as the output. So I think you understand the default values, how they. So instead of default values we give some specific values like 1, 5 and 2. So starting from first index up to fifth index, that means 5 is not considered, up to fourth index only. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 indexes are considered. But I have given step size as +2. So only two values will be printed. That means that from STRI, S and R will be printed. NT and I will be neglected since the step size is 2. So let's write another print statement consisting of string 1 of, let's try with negative values also. So let's give values -1 starting from the last index. -1 is nothing but last index, and my step size is -2. I am coming reverse with the string, leaving each variable. So if J is printed, N is neglected, and I is printed, R is neglected, T is printed, S is neglected, and A is printed at last. But I didn't mention the specific position of capital A. I just mentioned some -12 or -16. That means that whole string from last is considered. So from last G, I, T, A, the 4 letters are printed. This is coming in reverse. So we can write a small program like reversing a string. So for writing reversing a string, we need to run a for loop from last index to first index in other languages. In this it is easy. If we simply write colon, what will happen? Whole string will be printed. But we want it reverse. So I will write -1. So now my whole string will be reversed. See, in single line the string is reversed. So slicing helps you in many other programs also. Coming to next level topics that are nothing but some data types like list. List is nothing but an array, a simple array. So let's consider an empty list. How to create an empty list? Nothing but mention the square brackets. Let's print that empty list. My variable is L, and let us fill that empty list like L equal to some list of strings. I'll use some string values. JS and resources are my string values, two string values in my list. I'll print the list, and next I will add some integers. We shall write a 2D list also consisting of integers. 2D list is nothing but mention two square brackets, outer square brackets and inner square brackets. So first inner square brackets represents first row, second one represents second row. 1, 2, 3 will be in one row, 4, 5, 6 will be in another row. The structure is not mentioned exactly, but the internal structure will be same. So we get two rows. So we shall see the output. So we got the empty list, we got the list of strings, and I got a 2D list. 1 2 3 is my first row, 4 5 6 is my second row. Empty list also we can see that square brackets is mentioned in the output, that represents that it is a list. So there are many methods starting from how to we add some elements to a current list. So first we shall take an empty list and we shall add. We can use append method. Append method adds a list item at last of the list. So L dot append of 1 and 2. So 1 is added, then next 2 is added. So we'll get output as 1 comma 2. And another method is insert. But in insert we must mention the index position. Like now 1 is at 0th position, 2 is at first position, and in third position there is no value. In second position also there is no value. So 12 will come in second position. And L dot insert of 0. So we shall print that. And next we can use extend method also to add at a time many values. Like I'm adding 8, hello, and the character C. So these 3 at a time they will be added to the previous present list. So let's see the outputs, you will get some clarity. So I am replacing 1 with high using insert, and the whole list will be added to the previous list using extend. So here we got empty list, this is the previous output, and I have appended 1 and 2, and in place of 0th index I have inserted high and 12 at third position. And next I have added 8, hello, and C. I have extended my previous list. So next is accessing a list. So how to access already present elements? Nothing but we can use the indexes. So if we, what is the value present at 0th index? 1. And what is the value present at third index? Nothing but 4. 4 will be printed. We can use negative indexing also, like -1. So what is -1 means? Last value, that is nothing but channel. If we write -3, 5 will be printed. So 1, and in third position 4 will be printed, and -1 7 will be printed, and in -3 5 will be printed as your output. So we got the output, and we have access to those values using indexing, and we can use slicing also to access them. To access some range of elements we can use slicing also. And to remove also we must remove already present elements. I am removing 4 by using the remove method. I am removing 6 also. Let's check whether they are removed or not by using a print statement. And next there are some other methods also, like pop. Pop element removes the last element in list. Like what is last element now? After removing 4 and 6, 7 is the last element. So 7 will be popped out. That being what it is removed. So see here, we have removed 4 and 6, and later we have popped out 7. So these are methods for removing elements in a list. So our next step is going to the some other methods. As I have already said, we can use slicing also. So let's see, I am using slicing to print several number of elements. I am printing from first position to third position. That means that first index and second index values are printed. So since the step size is 1, there is no confusion, and I am using negative indexing also. So I got 2 and 3, that is okay. 5 and 2 also. How did we get 5 and 2? We started from -1 position to -4 position with step size -2. That is in reverse. So we use length method also to find what is the length of the final list. So what is my length of the final list? 1, 2, 3 and 5. I have just printed using slicing, but they are not final list. Next topic is tuples. So we start with tuples. Tuples are nothing but lists, but there is a change. Lists are mutable. That means we can change already present values, we can update them, we can add them, we can delete them also. But in tuple, they are not allowed. means after adding they are fixed. There must not be any updations or deletions. That gives an error if we try to do that. So tuples uses parentheses, nothing but rounded brackets. List use square brackets. If you can't remember the syntax, we have another option also, I will say that. So I have wrote two tuples t and t2, one consisting of integers and another consisting of strings. Let's print them directly. Those are my two tuples. And I said another method, no, nothing but let's write a list and we shall convert that list into tuple. So this is list. First list will be printed. To convert a list into tuple, nothing but you should do a type conversion like tuple of list variable. So that list will be converted into tuple t. Let's print our tuple. So now you can find the difference. So my empty tuple consisting of parentheses is printed and list is printed and converted that list into tuple also by using typecasting generally. So if you can't remember those braces, if you get confusion, you can do typecasting. That will be easy for you. And next the same we shall repeat in order. First is accessing. To accessing same method we shall use indexing. We can use slicing also to get several number of values. So 0th index value nothing but 10 will be printed, -1 means last value, nothing but 30 will be printed. So the main point in tuple is, as I already said, deleting, updating and adding the elements. Nothing but if we try to change the tuple, that gives an error because tuples are immutable. That means they cannot be changed. But that can be happened in lists. They have access to that. But in tuple it is not available. Let's see some other also, like finding the length. You know how to find the length of tuple. And another one is unpacking a tuple. Nothing but let us see. Let us write a comma b comma c that equal to my tuple. So if you print that a value, b value, c value, in a my what is my tuple 10, 20 and 30. So those three values will be in a. So therefore a value is 10, b value is 20, c value is 30. That is nothing but unpacking a tuple to some variables. Left hand side variables consists of right hand side tuple values. And next main topic is sets. Set is nothing but, the main thing in set is it is also an array but it does not contain duplicate values and the values are stored unorderly in memory. So if you try to access one variable, you can't get what you want. Since they are unordered, they will be in mixed. So accessing will be some problem in set. And they are mutable. Sets can be mutable. So coming to set syntax, they are curly braces. Curly braces. And as I have already said, if you get confusion, you can write a list. Every time you write a list, you can convert that as a tuple or a set using their keywords, tuple or set. We can do typecasting. So I have repeated some values like 4 and 5 and 1. So if you print that set, all those duplicate values will be removed. So my empty set is printed and my set consisting of no duplicate values. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are ordered, but in memory location they are unordered. So next one is adding elements to a set. So to add, you can use the add method directly, s.add of 8. So 8 value will be added. If you try to give a value already it is present in the set, it won't be added since duplicates are removed. You can add 9 and you can use another method also known as update, s.update of some. You can give a list like 10, 11. So my set will be updated with those values. 8, 9, 10 and 11 will be added to my set. So see 8, 9, 10 and 11. First 8 and 9, next 10 and 11 are added to my set. So by this, if you try to add 10, it won't be added. Since it is already present, it won't be added. So that is my set and adding elements to it. And accessing. Here comes the problem. We get an error while doing accessing. We can't use index. Index cannot be used since sets are unordered. They have unordered. Lists and tuples are ordered, so we can use indexes to access them. but sets they are unordered, they will get shuffled in memory allocation, so we can't access them using the index. But there is a general way, like writing a for loop. We can write a for loop and we can access whole set, nothing but printing and whole set using a for loop. So I have used here end statement to print all the values side by side, all my set values side by side consisting a space between them. So see, all values side by side consisting a space between them. So by that way we can access a set, whole set, but we cannot access a single element by using index. It is not possible in sets. We can remove already present elements. So s dot remove of means the element will be removed. Suppose let's remove one element 5 from our set. If it is present, okay. If it is not present, nothing will happen. So next 10. 10 is removed. 5 and 10 are removed, and let's print the set. Let's check what is the output. And we can use discard method also. Discard will remove 11 and we shall print. Discard and remove will be working as same, and if we use pop, first element in our set will be removed. Sometimes it may remove first or anything, that is not fixed. Here it removed first element, my 1 is removed here, and before we have removed, oh sorry, I have just printed it side by side. Let's get it down. Let's write just a single print statement to print a new line. So we got the correct output here. So 1 2 3 4 8 9 and 11. So we have removed the 5 and we have removed 11 in next one, and we have removed 1 by using pop. Exactly 1 only will not be removed every time. And next topic is frozen set. Frozen set is nothing but it consists of all the properties of set, but normal sets are mutable, but frozen set is known as immutable set, means giving the tuple condition to a set. So we are converting a set into frozen set, nothing but use the keyword frozen set of our set. So we can see that while printing also it is saying that this set is nothing but a frozen set. You can change the values or update or add the values to it. So next and last data type is dictionary. Dictionary will store values known as key value pairs, a key and a value. And dictionary values are also unordered in memory allocation, same as sets, and stored in key value pair, as I have said. So let's print an empty dictionary first. That is same as set only, but the value in that will be stored in different manner, like key and value. See here, my 1 is key, small a is value, 2 is key, b is value, next 3 is key, c is value. So if we access 1, a will be printed. If we access 2, b will be printed. Nothing but if my index is 1, a will be printed. If my index is 3, c will be printed. So I have printed the whole dictionary. Left side one are keys, right side one are values. Keys and values. They are known as key value pairs. Values are stored in key value pairs. And next, adding elements to a dictionary. So to add elements to a dictionary, we can write like d of 0 equal to some value. Nothing but the value present in the square brackets is known as key, and the value on right hand side is your value. So 2 is my key, for that I am giving a value xyz. And next let's write a key 4. For my key 4, my value will be new. Let's print the output after adding all those values. So we can see that, see, they are unordered, as I have said. So don't remember order in sets and dictionaries. And next, 0 value is high, 1 is a, 2 is xyz, 3 is c, 4 is new. 4 is key and new is value. So they are keys and right hand side values are values. So let's see how to update values. So updating is nothing but already present key, we are giving new value to it. Suppose 2 is there, we are giving new value to it. I don't know how many of you have recognized. I have already done the updation before only while adding. If you see carefully, in my first dictionary I have given 2 key and b as value, and next I have replaced that with xyz. So I have updated already. So my 2 key is replaced with xyz. Next is accessing. So as I have already said, the keys are indexes. So if we access a value using the keys, the value will be printed for that key. If we access d of 0, what is the key for 0, that is printed, and for 3, what is value for 3, it is printed. And if we access by using another method also, like d dot get of 2, nothing but if the key is 2, what is its value, nothing but xyz will be printed. This is accessing a dictionary. So up to now we have seen keys with integers only, but that is not only way. We can use strings also. So I have used a string that equal to 100. My string is the key and 100 is the value. So if we try to access d of string, 100 will be printed. So it is not fixed that integers only must be used. And for removing, we shall use pop of key value. Suppose if we use 2, the key and that value will be removed from the dictionary. And I have used string since it is my key. So string and its value are deleted, 2 and its value are deleted from my dictionary. So we can use pop of key to remove our elements in dictionary. So these are 4 data types. So next topic is conditionals and loops. Coming to the conditional statements, we have simple if else, nested if, and else if ladders, and switch case also. So let us have an example. So let's take an integer value. Variable is a. Let's read it from the input. So I have given an input and I have typecasted it to integer. So let's check an if condition. If a number is divisible by 2, and we write an nested if, nothing but if a is divisible by 2 and a is divisible by 5 also, then the print statement gets executed. So my print statement is a is divisible by both 2 and 5. So let's write an else if ladder. For example, let's take if of a equal to 11. We shall print that a is 11. So if this case fails, we'll have an else if case. So in Python we use the keyword elif to write else if. Elif of a equal to, suppose we take it as 10, we print a is 10. Suppose even this case is also failed, we shall write another elif. So in this, the value of a must be 12, then the print statement gets executed. So a is 12. Suppose if all the if and elif cases are failed, then we will go to else case. We shall print that a is something but not 10 or 11 or 12, because we have checked all those 3 values. If a is not these 3 values, then the last print statement gets executed. So this is an example of an else if ladder. Let's run it. So if we give the input as 10, it is saying that 10 is divisible by both 2 and 5, and a is a 10. Second case in elif ladder is executed. So if we take another input 12, so it don't print that a is not divisible by 12. So let's go to loops. Coming to loops, we have while loop, do while loop, and for loop. We do have for each loop also. So for every value in a variable. So I'll be explaining it. Next, we start with while loop. Coming to while loop, let's take a value I equal to 0. Starting from I equal to 0, we write I less than 3 up to I less than 3. So I am pre-incrementing this. I equal to I plus 1, we can write directly I plus plus also. So we shall print the I value. First the value is getting incremented and then it's printed. So 0 is incremented to 1 first. So 1 is printed first, again 2, again 3. So after 3, it's get fail case and the while loop get out of it. So let's take a list. For example, let's take a list. It contains values 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So what we shall do is, we shall see one example to iterate this list. So while L, This is known as while each loop. So we are going to every value of the list, but I am writing L dot pop off. That means it comes from last element like 15, 14, 13, 12 and 11. So here is output. Since we used L dot pop, from last they will be popped out. So this is an example of while each loop. So let's comment out this, and next loop is nothing but a for loop. In for loop also we shall see first for each loop. So we shall write a for loop for taking the each and every value of a list. So first let's create a list containing of characters A, B and C. To iterate this, we shall write for I in L. That means every value in L, list L. So let's print them. If we print I, each and every value will be printed. So let's that last print statement is for a new line. So ABC, we got our output. So to use for loop, let's write another example. To know about for loop, we need the range function also. Range function is nothing but it acts the same as the slicing only. So it starts from 0, it ends at 5 minus 1, nothing but 4, and step size is by default 1 only, but I mentioned it. And we shall print. So 0 will be printed, space 1, space 2, space 3, space 4. 5 is not printed. It just takes 5 minus 1 value up to 5. So let's see the output. So they are printed side by side because I used end equal to space. And if we start from 10 and up to 30 with step size 2. So here is our output. But 30 is not printed, up to 28 only. Since it is go up to 29 values only. We can give even negative values also. So starting from 30, I am coming to 10 in reverse. So 32 up to 10 with minus 3 step size. So this is an example of for loop. So the main important point is we don't have do while and switch case in Python directly, but we can implement them indirectly. So they are not much important. For any loop statements you can use this while and for loops. So do while and switch case are not necessary. And next coming to functions. Functions is the important topic. So starting with functions, we need to know the basics. So let's write a function. To write a function we should use define keyword. So my function name is f1. I am printing a statement. When I call this function, this statement will be executed. And let's write another function also, f2. So in this f2, let's write some code. A equal to 0, starting value is 0. Let's write a for loop for I in range of starting from 1 to 11. A plus equal to I, that is nothing but A equal to A plus I, both are same. So we shall return the value of A. So every time that function returns a value. So if it returns, we must store the returned value into a variable. So let's write a variable named result. I have called f1 function also before, and let's print the result value. Every time the function gets called, finally the A value will be printed. See, the finally A value of that function is 55, and I have added 100 to it also. So my final answer is 155. So next is functions having arguments. Up to now I just wrote the return statement. One doesn't have any return statement, another one has return statement. But coming to functions having arguments, there are some types in arguments also. Suppose we can give arguments directly, or we can write default arguments also. So I have taken example, my function is f3, I am printing x and y values. I will give them as parameters, nothing but arguments. 10 and 20 will come to x and y, they will be get printed directly. This is normal example of an argument function. So 10 is stored in x, 20 is stored in y. They will be get printed. Suppose if I don't give one value, I will just give single value 100 and 200. Suppose I will remove 200 and I will just give single value 100. So 100 will go to x, but what happened to y? Y will don't contain anything. So by default y should have 50 if any value is not given. If it is given, take the given value only. Suppose if x value is also not given, take the x and y values defaultly. Since x value is given, 120 is not taken. If you don't provide that also, you can. So this is a default argument. Next one is keyword arguments. Actually they are keyword based arguments. Keywords are nothing but the parameter name they are giving, like x and y. Suppose x and y are my keywords. So I don't need order. By seeing here we know that x is first and y is second. So if we give 10 comma 20, x value contains 10, y value contains 20. But suppose if I don't know the x and y order, so which value must go to x and which value must go to y will get confused. In that cases you can directly mention. Suppose for example, let's take z variable also. You will know the best example. So if I give like this, we will get one output. Since x contains 10, y contains 20, z contains 30. Let's see the output. So you got 16 when we given 10, 20, 30 in this order. Suppose if I change the order, my answer gets changed. See, so if you don't remember order also, it will get somewhat problem. So if you don't know order but you know what are the variables, you can mention those variables. So I mentioned x, y, z values directly. So mentioning that, I got the proper output as before. So mentioning that is known as keyword based arguments. And finally we have the most important thing is lambda functions. Lambda functions are special. So let's see an example. I am taking a variable result that equal to lambda. Lambda is a keyword there. So x colon x into x into x. So we must send a value to x, that is before column. So to send that, we shall write variable name of argument. So x will have 2. My left side one is variable which stores a value, right side one is the operation. So 2 into 2 into 2, we got 8. So we can find cube using that lambda function in a single line. Coming to the most important topic, OOPS, object oriented programming in Python. So in OOPS, my first topic is classes and objects. So let's define a class using keyword class, and my class name is my class. So I am writing a class named my class, and let's write two variables in it. Variable 1 equal to 100, variable 2 equal to some string value. So for example Python. Then let's define a function in a class. So what is a class? It contains both data members and member functions, nothing but my variables and functions. So don't get confused about this self. Self is nothing but it is saying that this function belongs to this class. That's it. That is nothing more than that. And next, print statement. I am just printing those variables using separated by a space. And I am creating an object. For a class, we can create object. So I have created object for my class, and I am printing variable using those objects. So object dot variable 1, and we can access object dot variable 2 also. So my 100 and Python will be printed there. So to call a function directly, object dot function name. So my function is f1. Since there are no parameters, self is not a parameter. It is just mentioning that they are variables of that function. So self dot variable 1, self dot variable 2. So those variables will be get printed. So first 100 and Python directly we access variables. Second 100 and Python are we access them by using a function. So next is constructor. Constructor is nothing but when we create object only, we send parameters to it. So in other ways we can say that a function name or a class name, if they are same, that is known as constructor. So in this constructor I wrote that self comma a comma b, self dot variable 1 equal to a, self dot variable 2 equal to b. So in my variable 1 and variable 2, the a and b values nothing but my parameters which I send while calling or while creating object to this class. Next I am adding them using a function. So let's create a class, and since this is a constructor, we send values at the time of creating object only. So object dot add them, I am adding them. So 100 and 200 will be get added. So I got the output as 300. This is an example of constructors. And next topic is inheritance. Inheritance is a process of acquiring functions or variables from parent class to child class, or a base class to derived class. Both are same. So my base class is person, or a parent class is person, and I am writing just a constructor. So to get the name, so I will store the name in a name variable only, and to get that name I am returning that. So I am just returning the name which I have given while calling the constructor. And next I am checking that if the person is employee or not. So all persons may not be employees, so I will return false only here. So I have one case here, some persons are employees, no, for that I am writing another class. So class employee. So in this class all the members will be employees. So I can say that in is employee function I can return true every time when this class is called, but I need the constructor and get name function also to print my a name of the employee. So again writing them is somewhat complex, so I'll just use inheritance. So we can write in brackets, we can mention the upper class name or a parent class name. So let's create object first directly for employee. So if I create an employee and we used constructor, so in that constructor the parameter is John. So object one dot get name. So if you use get name, John gets printed. So my output is John, and I am checking that he is employee or not. So since I have created the object for employee class, it will return true. So John comma true are my outputs here. So the constructor and the get name function are also present in employee since we used inheritance. And I am checking directly with the parent class. So I have created a constructor for parent class. I have given name Smith, and I am printing object 2 dot get name. So Smith will be printed, and object 1 dot I am object 2 dot is employee. So I am checking that the person is employee or not. So all persons may not be employees, so it returns false. And next topic is polymorphism. So we have two things in polymorphism, overloading and overriding. So I don't go deep into them. So let's see an example. I have written a class A and I am writing a function name show or display. You can write even display also. So in this, let's write a simple print statement like this is inside class A. This is inside A. If that function is called, that this is inside A statement executes. Let's write another class B, but my function name should be same as above. So this is polymorphism in two different classes. So two different classes, the same function. So here we don't get any problem because in class A there is only one show function, in class B there is only one show function. So we can separate them easily. We can know the difference between them. So I have created for class A, and if I call show, first line my this is inside A will get executed. So if I create an object for B and if I call show, this is inside B gets executed. So here there is no problem, this is direct. So if I inherit class B with class A, what will happen, that upper show function also will be present in my class B, so it gets confused. But yeah, due to polymorphism we get the same outputs, because this is inside B is prioritized, it is prioritized. And next topic is encapsulation. Encapsulation is nothing but hiding the data or giving restrictions. So to give restriction to a function or a variable, let's write a class. So let's write a function to get restricted. So we have a constructor. Let's write a constructor. So that constructor contains values. So if I create object for that class, these all values get stored in those variables. So 10 is stored in A, 100 is stored in B, 1000 is stored in C. But due to underscore, their restriction changes. If there is no underscore, it is public. Single underscore means protected and double underscore means private. If there are no underscores, it is public. And I have created object and I am just printing nothing but I am trying to access those variables. So I am trying to access them. So A and B get accessed without an error. Public and protected can be accessed, but private variables gets an error. It says that the variable is not present. So object has no attribute underscore underscore C. It says that there is no attribute like such, since it is private variable to that class only. We can only use that variable in that class only, not outside the class. So but there is a way to get those private variables. We can use setters and getters to access those private variables. And next topic is exception handling. So while writing a program we may get many exceptions, so we must handle all those exceptions. So we have keywords try, except, finally and raise also. So let's see one by one. So let's try is nothing but it tries some statements. So I am trying to print x value. So suppose my x value is 10, I am trying to print it. So if I can't print that x value, like exception, so I will just print something went wrong. And finally is keyword, whether the try or except is executed or not, finally gets executed compulsory. So 10, since 10 is printed successfully, try executes without error and finally is also printed. So we got an exception. Since there is no variable x, exception occurs and final statement is also executed. Suppose let us raise an exception. We can also raise exceptions. Suppose x value is minus 10. If x value is less than 0, that is nothing but negative value, we must raise an exception that negative values are not allowed in this condition or something. So to write that, I have just used raise keyword and exception. So this gives us exception negative values not allowed. So we got an exception negative values not allowed. Since it is negative value, if we give positive value, that exception doesn't occur.